All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome from sunny Quartzsite. As you have seen from our wonderful presenters so far, we have a lot of advocates working for us, but we can be our own advocates as well. Many of us have had vehicle residency chosen for us, but will bloom where they're planted, so to speak, and embrace and love this lifestyle, if only for a brief minute. Some of us are waiting for safe parking programs or housing vouchers and counting down the days when vehicle residency is in our rearview mirrors, as it were.
But all of us have a personal responsibility to keep our public lands and parking lots available for those who find themselves in the same dire straits in the future. We're asking you to help us protect the future of this lifestyle while the lawyers, social workers, churches, and legislators work to decriminalize and destigmatize homelessness.
My name is Jaime. I'm a she, her. I've loved camping my whole life. I've been doing van life. This is starting my first winter. I just started full time in August. I've camped in everything from a minivan to a decent class B. I have a huge gratitude for this life. I'm a recently added member to the board of trustees for HOUSE, and I'm the medical director for the RTR. I didn't know if I would love this when I started it, but I felt compelled to try it. And I have found my tribe. I love these people who do this. And, you know, people stop cooking to take a picture of a sunset. Those are my people. I don't want to give this up, and I need your help to make sure that doesn't happen.
And before I introduce myself, can you all still hear us okay? We have wind.
Yes, you're clear.
Great. And you can see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
First time. Thank you so much.
This is our first Zoomie.
Yeah, this is our first Zoom. We're new to this. I'm Jake. I'm a he, him, and I live in a motorhome full time. And thanks to the knowledge shared by Cheap RV Living, that's Bob Wells' blog and YouTube channel for those who don't know, and also the knowledge I've learned from the Homes on Wheels Alliance and the Rubber Tramp Rendezvous, I've been able to thrive in a vehicle for 4 years. And I've seen a lot of change in the 4 years that I've been doing this, from the overcrowding of our public lands and campgrounds to huge increase in bad behavior and damage to those same public lands and campgrounds and the parking lots used for overnighting. I work in a national forest during the summer seasons, and I've seen shutdowns partly due to our behaviors along with natural disasters. So that's why I'm passionate about it, and I'm here with Jaime today.
Just a couple housekeeping things. Huge shout out to Roy and Becky's Travels, who graciously shared their Starlink with us, so we're not sounding like we're underwater. You can find them on YouTube and social media. Lisa B will be our esteemed moderator. Anyone disrespecting us, her, our guests, or my hair will be heated with impunity. The legendary Lisa B will pick the most relevant questions to answer at the end of the presentation if there's time. I come with a caveat. I've been compared to a drunken sailor or an angry trucker, so I apologize in advance if I present a cursey word. We are well aware this is also often perceived as a preachy topic, and we understand the majority of us are doing most things right most of the time. Our goal in this is to mainly teach the new people our lifestyle, help seasoned vehicle residents talk to new people, and if we can help everyone learn just one thing, then the last 3 hours of late night prep were not in vain. It may feel like we're raining down hellfire and damnation, but we want to assure you that's just our passion about the subject, and we're not finger pointing at anyone.
Thank you, Jaime. Today, we're going to talk about what is a vehicle resident, at least for the terms of this discussion. We're going to quickly review some overnighting and camping options, many of which have already been discussed in earlier presentations today. And then that'll lead us into the threats to these camping and overnighting options and ways that we can preserve access to these lands, or at least delay losing them as long as we can. And they're going to be solutions such as, what can I do? What can we do?
There are over 1 million of us living this lifestyle. It can feel lonely because we're scattered far and wide. But if we work together, to decriminalize vehicle residency, if we all stand together, we have a loud voice that the decision makers will have no choice but to listen to.
So what is a vehicle resident? For the purposes of today's discussion, a vehicle resident is anyone who lives in a vehicle, whether by choice or not, in anything from a 1986 Yugo GV, that's the yellow one, to a fancy Class A motorhome, that's the big bus in the corner. And we're including campers, truckers, weekend warriors, nomads, or anyone who overnights in parking lots or stays longer term on public lands. Vehicle residents have a variety of options for camping and overnighting. Quick review, we know this has been covered. We can use many public lands like national forests or BLM land for camping. By the way, BLM in this context means Bureau of Land Management. And if you can afford it, $180 will buy you a 6-month winter season pass to camp or live legally in a long-term visitor area on BLM land. That's only $1 per day, folks. These are primarily in the desert Southwest, California, Arizona, but there's no 14-day limit. So it's a really low cost option for vehicle residents. Please note, except for that LTVA I just mentioned, we are camping, not living long-term on national forest or BLM lands. We need to be ready to show proof of permanent address if we're ever asked. And we never say that we live in our vehicle on public lands.
They mentioned it in the last presentation that we can't legally live on federal land, and you must have a personal address. Some overnight honorable mentions. If you're traveling through, you can stay one night, or if you're a city dweller, you can rotate between 7 or 8 of these each week. Walmart, but they've been closing Walmart so much that check. There's apps, or even call and talk to the manager. Sorry. Cabela's, Bass Pro Shops, 24-hour grocery stores, truck stops, rest areas, bars, if you're not drunk, and many other parking lots that look safe, have 24-hour traffic where we can go unnoticed.
But all of these areas are at risk of being closed off to us, and we're going to tell you why. Some examples, though, include, like in Kingman, Arizona, there are 2 trailheads that used to be able to overnight or kind of camp in for a few nights. They've been closed. Some BLM lands around the Sedona area have been closed off to campers. Utah's East Fork Little Bear River Wildlife Management Area.
Say it again, Jake.
No. Was closed, and I forgot to show the slide with the announcement on that. Many Walmart parking lots are starting to prohibit overnight parking where they didn't in the past. All types of overnight spots in many regional areas, such as, it seems like the whole state of Colorado. I know Anchorage, Alaska, it's really hard to find overnighting options. And many of the popular pretty places. Why is this happening to us? Well, first of all, there's been a kind of an explosion of the lifestyle and the overuse that comes along with that. Nomad land, the glamorization of nomadic life and RV life, social media, Instagram, YouTube, and advertising, they've all really created a lot of excitement and overuse.
On top of that, the 2020 COVID, since camping was the only thing you could do, there were at one point over 1 million new RVs waiting to be built. Rent moratoriums recently expired, pushing even more people into vehicle residency.
And RV age requirements. A lot of RV parks are now requiring that any RVs in their parks be 10 years old or less, or similar rules. Increased monthly rates in those RV parks and trailer parks. Those factors are pushing a lot of people who were in RV parks or campgrounds out into the streets or on public lands. Again, adding to the use.
Too many problems mean too many reports from the Leos, and then the bean counters take notice, and they find it's cheaper to close the lands than monitor them. Community perception is also really important. Community area residents are complaining to their local government about homeless people in their parking lots and streets, and the associated problems and fears that are real or imagined. Locals don't like seeing campgrounds and vehicle dwellers in parking lot. Some of them say it creeps them out.
We might have gone offline.
Can you hear us?
Yep, I can hear you.
Yep,
I'm
you're still there.
Go on.
Oh, the PowerPoint locked up then. Okay. Where are we at?
City
Right.
ordinance.
And city ordinances now cause no overnight parking signs to be posted, forcing some people into their local campgrounds and RV parks. Some parks and campgrounds actually lobby for this. We need the perception of us vehicle residents to not be one of the reasons that they list when lobbying for these changes.
We can't control all of the points we've mentioned above, but we can control our behavior and impact these lands and properties.
So what are we talking about when we talk about our behavior? Some of it's pretty obvious. Littering, leaving bags of trash and micro trash around camping areas, overstuffed trash cans in all sorts of places, or putting trash bags on top of full trash cans, which becomes wildlife fodder and gets scattered by the wind, making the problem worse.
Also graffiti and vandalism. Often enough, it's the local residents, but we get blamed, so it's our problem too. As well as wastewater, people dump their RV black and gray waters in nature or Walmart parking lots or sewer grates. In public lands, people are pooping on the land, toilet paper is blowing in the breeze.
Yeah, we see that all over national forest lands and BLM lands. Also, arguments caused by people not getting along. Topics that cause those are generator use, parking too close to each other, loose dogs, incessantly barking dogs, not picking up dog poop, loud music, not respecting our neighbors and the rules and conventions for the area you're in.
Look like you're camping on public lands, not living. Look like you're looking like you're camping and not sleeping at Walmart and rest areas. Generally being extra in places you're supposed to be sleeping. Tell us about your extra story, Jake.
Okay, my fault. I'm part of the problem, I learned. So my first trip out RVing, I rolled into a Walmart because I heard that's a safe place to overnight, and I did everything wrong. I rolled in with my traveling companion and our dogs. We parked the motorhome, extended the slide rooms, started the generator, plugged in the George Foreman grill outside and started cooking, cooked outside, ate dinner outside around the chairs and the little table that we unfolded. And we did all this before dark when it was highly visible. In short, we were camping instead of overnighting. I did everything wrong. In my defense, I did spend $127 on groceries in that Walmart.
The same thing happens with staying more than one night in a parking lot or staying more than 14 days in a public land spot, with the exception of the LTVAs.
Another problem facing us is fire danger and natural disasters. These things can compound with our behaviors to work against us. I work in Tahoe National Forest in the summers as a campground manager and camp host. I was working there in the summers of 2020 and 21 when there were closures due to risk of wildfires in the area. I mean, the wildfires were going on, the risk was coming closer to us. And there was COVID stress going on, as Jaime previously mentioned. So a lot of overuse going on at the same time. They closed the forest in response to the wildfire risk at one point, and the letter that accompanied the closure from the Forest Service actually cited all of the reasons we're talking about today. That closure letter actually said that because of the public's history, I'm paraphrasing, this is not a quote, because of the public's history of being unable to follow the rules, along with other damage to the forest, such as litter and feces, that they couldn't trust us to behave responsibly in a time of crisis. So they just closed the lands to all visitors for the rest of the season.
Wildfires in national forests and BLM, we know some have been determined to be arson, but others are accidental or natural. Smoking, ashes, butt chucking out the window are all risk. Dragging chains on your trailer can cause sparks to get blown into the woods. Those Chinese paper lanterns, if they don't start the fire and burn your view down, they also become litter. Lightning strikes, fires, and a shortage of firefighters and Forest Service staff.
On that note, if an area ever gets closed due to a natural disaster, we have to respect that. There's safety reasons and lack of people coming to save us. So do heed those closed signs.
Diversity and inclusion in vehicle residency, i.e. getting along with people who do it differently than you. Thanks to the explosion of this lifestyle, there are more of us compressed into smaller areas and increasing instances of people not getting along.
Again, those loud generators, dog issues, music, trash blowing like tumbleweeds, they're all causing stress between visitors.
A general self-centeredness, not being a good neighbor, even if it falls in the perimeter of the law. For example, legally running your generator from 6 to 10 in most 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. in most places. Should you?
No.
Legally, you can park up to 15 feet to your neighbor on most public lands. Should you?
Hell no.
And legally, your dog can bark for 18 hours, but who's going to tolerate that?
People's thoughtlessness is triggering other people's anger or mental illness or PTSD. As more and more people get pushed out of cities and farther from treatment and services, mental illness problems are becoming exacerbated.
And I have a example of that. I ran out of propane after everything.
Jamie, you just muted yourself.
I can't hear you.
Yep, they muted by accident. They'll be back. Jake, Jamie.
Yeah,
Yeah, there you go.
we got it. The computer
Start
did it. We never
over.
touched it.
Start
The
at the beginning
computer's
where
psycho.
the propane part. Start with the propane.
Okay. I ran out of propane, so I ran my generator because it was in the 30s that night and I was a weenie. I got up to go to the bathroom at 6 o'clock in the morning. I saw a flashlight out my bathroom window. And so I went out there. I'm like, and I wasn't kind because it's 6 o'clock in the morning. He's going through our stuff. And I said, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "You know, you ran your generator." And I'm like, "I ran out of propane." And he yelled at me. And later we discovered that he had broke the strap on my friend's generator, wasn't running, and he pulled the black water dump on my tank, which fortunately I didn't discover till I went to dump, and I didn't even get any goo on my shoe. But yeah, people are sensitive, and I unfairly ran my generator. I should have planned ahead.
But it's an example of a trigger. You never know what your neighbor's gonna react to. Other things include bad experiences with law enforcement officers, cops, volunteers, and security guards. Law enforcement agencies are notoriously understaffed and overworked these days. They deal with all sorts of problems and arguments every day. If I pick a fight with anything from a rental cop to a law enforcement officer, I'm dragging all of you down with me. Instead, I need to offer them a cup of coffee. LEOs and volunteers are just doing their job. We don't want them to get burned out and quit. For example, if nobody's manning the gates at the LTVAs that we're currently hanging out on, they get closed.
All of these above issues lead to worker frustration and burnout, overtime and staffing shortages, forcing the bean counters to close the areas that are too expensive or they can't find coverage for. This may seem daunting and overwhelming, but we can be part of the solution.
So, if we're perceived as a bigger problem than an asset, we're going to continue to lose access to these private parking lots and public lands. There's always the possibility that they're going to close them anyway, possibly in spite of us, or possibly for other reasons. If we continue to abuse and disrespect these areas and the people who police them, we will definitely lose the right to be there. We might not be able to stop it, but good behavior can delay it. We can lead by example by doing some things better as a group and inspiring others to do the same. This will help us overcome other people's bad behaviors with our good behaviors, build equity, and win the public's heart. So keep this in mind as we proceed with the solutions.
Litter and trash, cigarette butts, dog poop, candy wrapper corners, bread tabs, broken bottles, they're all litter.
Food waste, leaving eggshells, onion and orange peels, sunflower seeds and nutshells is littering, not giving back to nature. Leaving cardboard and paper in a fire pit, it's littering.
Really be cognizant of the grocery bags. They blow in the wind, get stuck on fences. Animals that eat them please try to reuse them, trash them, or return them to the grocery store. They will blow. And occasionally you'll have a bag escape, but do your best.
And even in nature, dog poop needs to be picked up. Pick up other dogs' poop to make up for the one that you missed from your dog. Jamie.
I have a dog that likes to back up to the thorniest bushes and trees and poop down in the wash where I have no prayer of ever getting out of. So occasionally I have to leave one, but I am really good about getting poop equity and picking up others. And if anybody needs a bush pooping dog, let me know.
And when we're throwing out our trash, we need to try to compact our trash into small bags because it's easier to dispose of at a gas station and in public trash cans. Let's not throw out full household size trash bags at gas stations and grocery stores. They won't fit. It's illegal to throw out private trash in a business dumpster and could be construed by the public as stealing. The businesses and residents will basically, that action can paint us in a bad light with a broad brush.
If the trash can is full, don't pile it on top or set it next to it. Take it with you and find a different place. Leaving it out will cause animal and winds to scatter, creating a bigger mess. This is why we can't overnight at the trailheads in Kingman anymore. Jake and I are both guilty at Kingman along with others. So we're really careful not to be part of the problem anymore.
Yeah, I didn't know at the time, but I do now. And so we also have to overcome the trash left by others. We may not have been part of that problem, but we can be part of that solution. You know, if we all picked up a single Walmart bag of trash every day at every place we went, I think you know where I'm going with this.
And I do. I consider it paying my rent. When I stay at a Walmart, I pick up a Walmart bag full of trash. You know, I have a small rig, so I don't always buy stuff, but I do give back by at least picking up trash.
And you picked up a big piece of trash in Oklahoma, didn't you?
I did. I stayed at a trailhead and I was brand new. I parked too close to the other van and felt kind of guilty, but I was hoping to meet somebody. But there was this tent that had been there a long time. The tent poles were gone. It was sun faded. You could see what color it was in the creases. And I just knew I couldn't leave it there. I was on my way to see my friend in New Mexico. So I called her and asked, do you have a dump service? I can bring this tent. She's like, and she said, yes. So I got out my only contractor bag I had and I stuffed and I pushed this 6 to 8 man tent into this huge bag. It was full of something. I don't know. It could have been beer, could have been drugs, could have been needles, could have been Jimmy Hoffa. I never looked. I just put it in this bag. And every time I'd stop, I'd have to put the bag out so I get in the back of my rig and do what I needed to do and set it out overnight. And then every day it would be in the middle of my rig. But yeah, I was compelled. I couldn't leave it.
And that tent made it to its
It
ultimate demise, right?
did. in the dump in the middle of nowhere, New Mexico.
And funny thing, when I returned to my campsite in Oklahoma, my tent was gone. Other things we could do. I see a hand up. Is it okay if we hang on to questions till the end of the presentation?
I got
Is
a
it
couple
urgent?
questions from Lisa
Okay,
too.
thank
so-
you so much. It's really hard with the sun in our eyes to bounce, change gears in the heat of the moment.
And it's
Thank
our
you.
first Zoomies, so be gentle on
Yes. Other things we could do in the trash realm to be part of the solution. We can organize a trash cleanup day. We actually did this in Pahrump with HOUA, the Homes on Wheels Alliance, and it was a huge success. How much trash did we pick up?
90 yards total.
3 30-yard dumpsters plus an extra day of running things to the dump with volunteers with pickup trucks. It was a huge success. The BLM was super grateful. And that was talked about actually earlier, I think.
Yeah,
in
and the
previous
last
session.
presentation.
So we won't belabor that one, but
We had
It-
people coming out of the desert to help
oh
us.
yeah.
It was great.
Even not super physically able people that crawled out with trash pickups and buckets. It was really a beautiful sight. And it's a reminder that it's okay to be seen doing it. It inspires others and it makes us look good. It's a win-win-win. And by the way, this applies to public lands and those private parking lots. You know, as Jamie was saying, you know, she stops at a Walmart and overnights there. you're out there.
Rest areas, trailheads, I pick up garbage. There's always micro trash, even if it's not real big visible trash, there's always micro trash. If this fat old lady can do it, most people don't have an excuse.
We don't want to belabor it too much, but it's like trash is such a big thing that gets pointed at on
Right,
vehicle residents. So anything we can do and be seen doing has got to do the whole community a huge favor.
We can't dump our RV, gray water, or black water on public lands, parking lots, or storm sewers. It doesn't get treated and could eventually flow into our lakes and rivers. At you.
I was playing with the PowerPoint. Let's also not be throwing our full Gatorade pee bottles on the ground or in the trash cans, at least not the ones that people have to manually empty by hand. Safer places to dump them and properly include, toilets, or you can scatter them in a grassy area of nature if appropriate, or some sort of inconspicuous area like that. Do make it a wide dispersal. Don't concentrate 3 weeks worth of it in one spot. Pooping in nature for those of us who need to do it. We need to be using proper cat holes. I already mentioned one of the problems in the forest closures was human feces and poopy toilet paper floating through the forest. We are supposed to dig a cat hole. A cat hole should be 6 inches deep. It should be 200 feet away from water or whatever the rules are for the area we're in. And we need to pack out our used toilet paper or booty wipes. Carry a bag for this.
A baggie,
Baggie.
your friend. We know there are obstacles to disposing of waste in public areas. Do the rightest thing you can for the circumstances you're in.
And Jamie and I don't have a lot of experience with city dwelling, but we understand that there are circumstances where city dwellers aren't allowed to use public restrooms and are forced to go outside. All we can really tell you is, try to be thoughtful and use discretion. We run the risk of an indecent exposure arrest.
They'll let you go for lack of evidence, Jake.
Oh my God. I'm leaving.
And we also don't want to leave a mess for innocent pedestrians, playing children, or people's pets.
Another huge slide, another huge obstacle we're facing is not getting along with our neighbors. And, we're all humans sharing the same space together, whether we're camping in nature or overnighting in a parking lot or living on a public street. Some of us are new at this, but some of us aren't. So let's talk about vehicle dwellers' favorite arguments. Generators, dogs, and music are huge ones. Generators cause fights, both in person and online, if you read the forums and the Facebook chatter. It's like Chevy versus Ford arguments. People who use them want to use them, and the people who don't want to hear them are very strongly about it. We got to mind the quiet time rules and the regulations for the area we're in. And we want to try to keep our generators in working order and as quiet as possible. What happened to us in Fortuna Pond when we were
Goodness.
camping?
There was a group of us camping, and this guy had an industrial generator. It ran day and night. It was so obnoxious that he played his radio to mask the noise, and of course that carries across the pond.
And it sounded like crap. This was not a properly tuned generator. This thing, when it was running, was like it had no rhythm.
It never became background noise.
Oh.
It finally died about 8:30, and everyone at the pond just exploded with a big yay. And he must have got the hint, because he never played it, or he never ran it again. Oh, maybe it broke.
Either way, the next few days were much better.
They were.
And his RV did not get set on fire like some people threatened. So win-win. But for those of us that do run or if you run your generator all day, the general advice is that we park around like-minded people. If we're overnighting with generators, it should be done at the noisy side of the truck stop or parking lot. Or between what do you call them, reefers, or the idling?
Yeah, reefers.
Refrigerated
refrigerators.
semis.
Nobody likes them either.
And if we don't like the noise, if we don't want to hear generator noise, we should not park next to somebody with a loud generator, because we're going to expect them to use it if we see that thing sitting out there. And if any of us finds ourselves banging heads with our neighbors, one side or the other on the generator argument or any noise argument, our residence has wheels. Use them. Pick up and move. Another issue is music wars. You love your music. nobody else does.
Jake, what kind of music do you listen to?
I like both kinds, country and western.
Wear your damn headphones. I don't want to hear that.
Oh,
Dogs, same logic. All dogs bark. But if you have an incessantly barking dog with separation anxiety, park or camp where you're not annoying others, be it in an area with no neighbors or with like-minded people. Know where your dog is and clean up after them.
all of this is about being respectful to our neighbors and our fellow humans. If in doubt, ask your neighbors. It's a great conversation starter and you may make a friend. We don't have to agree on all things to like the best part of a person.
Parking too close. Do not expect personal space in a parking lot. You will have a neighbor. They might make noise, but remember, you're only there for one night. So you'll sleep better tomorrow.
And on public lands, in the desert and BLM lands and LTVAs, there's often plenty of open space and an expectation of having space around you if you want it. So if somebody's parked or camped in an area, it's generally expected that you not come up and camp on top of them. The rule book may say 15 feet minimum, but out here 50 feet can feel way too close. But in national forest lands, it's often a little different because of all the trees. There's going to be nooks and crannies here and there scattered about. The options are more limited. So if somebody's in a spot that you're considering camping in, it's best to ask them if they're willing to share before you consider moving in and respectfully accept their answer.
If you don't want neighbors, don't take the biggest spot in the forest. Sometimes there's no choice. Be prepared that people might come to your area and you don't have to attack them. You can respectfully ask them to give you more space or maybe ask them about their camping style before you make your decision.
And also be understanding that some people kind of tend to follow the herd. They might come and camp or park next to you because either they're afraid or maybe they feel like if they see you there, that's where they're supposed to be camping too. So we can talk to them respectfully if we would like more space.
One of the risks to our lands is overstaying our time limits or the perception that we're going to overstay. Most public lands have a 14-day camp limit. If you set up a whole encampment, the impression is that you will be staying longer than 14 days. This concerns the Leos and locals and could trigger an encounter if you are perceived as a forced dweller. We're not talking about your outdoor kitchen or your bathroom tent, but if it looks like it took you a week to set it up and a week to tear it down, then it's going to look like you're going to be there more than 2 weeks.
Now, LTVAs are a little different. You can spread out a bit more, and people often do. But still, let's try to keep our debris pile down and not draw the ire of the decision makers and the locals. Nobody ever complained about a camper with a tidy campsite.
In parking lots, don't be a Walmart Jake with his camp chairs, outdoor cooking, awning, etc. The generator might be okay in the middle of Texas on a hot night. Everyone else is probably doing it. Try to blend in with the shoppers. Come in late, leave early, buy something, and remember, one night only. Look like you're sleeping or shopping there, not camping.
Appearances shouldn't matter, but they sometimes do. We just talked about the appearance of our campsite. Keeping ourselves and the outside of our rigs as clean as we possibly can for our circumstances goes a long way towards a positive community perception of us when we're parked at the local shopping centers. And nothing else, a smile can really bridge the gap between campers and local residents.
Let's talk about law enforcement and how we can improve our relationship with them. We want to stay under their radar. If their encounters with vehicle residents is a positive experience, they can become our advocates instead of our adversaries.
And every LEO or law enforcement officer approaching us is not there to cause us problems. They could be looking for a lost puppy or a lost hiker or the local friendly serial killer. And if it is about you or us, it might be that we're not doing anything wrong or needing to move. What happened when you got knocked on?
I was brand new. My granddaughter wanted to boondock. She called it stealth camping. So we went to the local trail at about 2 miles from her house. And after I directed traffic, as the only sober person for all the stoners that came out there to smoke, we settled in for the night. About 2 a.m. I got a knock. And I asked what he wanted, and he said his officer friendly, for lack of a better word, wanted to know if we were okay and could I open the door? And I said, no, all I see is headlights and hat, and I'm not comfortable and my granddaughter is in here. He said, can I have your ID? And I said, yes. By this time I already had my license plate. He knew who I was. So it was no big deal to give my ID. Ran it, made sure I wasn't the local friendly serial killer. And came back and I said, do we need to move? Because, you know, my son lives 2 miles from here, I'll park in his driveway. And he said, no, it's not posted. I just wanted to make sure everything was okay. So if you don't have a criminal background, your encounter is going to be positive if you don't have aren't argumentative. And it was. Then we stayed the night and my granddaughter was in the corner giggling to herself and we had a good time.
That's a good adventure. Sometimes though, they are there to enforce a local ordinance, especially if we're parking in a place where we're not permitted to be. When that happens, they're just doing their jobs. You know, we can dislike the policy, but still be civil with the officer telling us about it.
There's no need to come out guns blazing. This is not the place to start reciting our constitutional rights. Let them talk first and ask the questions. Don't offer extra. Again, they might not be there to harass you unless you are the local friendly serial killer they're looking for. If they ask you to leave, just do it. There's no argument. Just move.
Another, sorry. When it comes to natural disasters and fires, one of the solutions is, we're not going to cover everything about this, but intelligent fire building. Let's at least remind ourselves real quickly, for building fires, let's use existing fire pits. Don't do oversized logs that hang out bigger than the fire ring. Fires must be dead out when we're going to bed or leaving the campsite or leaving the fire in general. If we ever see smoke or fires in the distance, call and report them as soon as possible. Don't assume somebody else has done it. Could become a wildfire very quickly. And if you're staying in an area with an active wildfire, like I do half the time in Tahoe, have your stuff ready to go at all times. You may only have 5 minutes to get out, and that is not the time to be arguing with an officer while they're trying to save lives.
As far as flooding, never park in the wash or very close to moving waters. Rivers can rise from rainfall upstream that you don't even know about. All natural disasters, if the area is closed, please respect that and it will reopen when it's safe.
All right. Now getting into perhaps some of the most important part of the solutions. We've just talked about a lot of things that we could be doing better, and doing better includes holding our community accountable. That means ourselves and each other. How do we do that?
We talk to our neighbors with kindness, with compassion, and
Well, how do we talk to our neighbors?
we use I statements instead of your generator's too noisy. You say, I'm really bothered by generator noise. Will you be running it long?
Or instead of your campsite is a dump, say, hey, I use the trash can at the dog park. I'm heading there now. Can I take yours? Notice that we offered help in a moment and hinted at how they could do it themselves next time. And if we see somebody's dog pooping, we hand them a poop bag with the expectation that they will use it. If they're dumping their gray water on the ground, let's say, oh my God, why are you doing that? Maybe we could say, oh, I see water under your camper. Is something wrong? You know, this starts a conversation with opportunity to educate and kindness. The opportunity to educate being, if the guy dumping his gray water on the ground says, oh, that's just what he does all the time, we can stop and educate him why that's kind of bad for the land and bad for all of us vehicle residents and would lead to closures of the area. Do I hear a voice?
Your voices?
Okay. Jamie, how else can we talk to each other?
Well, I got some fun ways you can talk to people. My favorite is the shit sandwich. I've been using it for years. Get yourself a nice piece of Asiago bread. Sorry, I lost Jake.
Lost Jake.
Oh, says we can keep going. Sorry, I'm getting texts.
Our moderators.
Our moderator
guiding
in my
us.
ear. This shit sandwich. Get yourself a nice piece of artisan bread, and you lay down that cut it in half and you lay down that bottom piece and put a little mayo, onions on there, and you offer the bottom piece of bread. I love the pretty lights on your vehicle. Then you take that shit and you spread it thin and not too much, and you give them the meat of the conversation. Could you please turn your music down? It really bothers my neighbor. Now you've taken the pressure off of you. You've given them the information. Then you put that nice crusty top on with some mustard and you say, I love your dog. He's the most adorable dog in camp. You know, I hope I can come over and play with him. So you've given 2 compliments and 1 problem, and that helps ease that instead of just going over and yelling, turn your radio down.
Now, I don't think I'd use the shit sandwich on somebody who just sort of came in and started camping on my bumper. What could I do for them?
Well, I got some fun ones for that too. I like the Needy Nancy. Yeah, get out your stale Oreos and you cover them in whipped cream, and you go over there and say, oh my God, I'm so glad you're here. Have an hors d'oeuvre. Do you know anything about solar? And can you help me with my bumper that's falling off? And you just give them the honey-do list, and they're not gonna want to stay with you. And keep offering them your hors d'oeuvres. The other thing I like, I call the chain smoking ER. Everyone knows someone who's an emotional vortex. And if you can become that person for a little while, it's, hi, I'm so glad you're here. I had neighbors before, but they moved in the middle of the night. And it was the night my dog died and my brother broke his leg, and you just give them a whole list of sad stories, and they're usually gone by morning. The other thing, if you're camping with the group, more passive aggressive, which is a terrible way to live life, but it does work. If you're a bad actor, you have a bad actor in your group when you're sitting around the campfire, talk to someone like-minded with you about the problem. Don't address it with them, just talk about it, and hopefully you can plant a seed.
As we're talking to people about their behaviors, you know, we need to realize that we might not get immediate compliance, but like Jaime said, we can plant the seed. You know, if I talk to the person one time, Jaime talks to them, you talk to them, if they hear it enough times about that action, maybe they'll eventually change their behavior. Also, you might get called a Karen for doing that. They might tell you you're Karen and you need to mind your own business. My response to that is, yeah, it is my business if it affects my lifestyle. And by the way, I'm a guy, it's a Ken.
Realize that we're all a little broken, and some of us are really broken.
Hey,
we
hold on. Okay, wait. Okay.
Everything all right?
Sorry, I get that. No, sorry, we got a rogue mic that went out there. I'm gonna eat him. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I'll start again. Realize that we are all a little broken, and some of us are really broken, and we won't be able to communicate with all of these people. Recognize that and walk away. If someone is acting really messed up, for lack of a better word, or damaging our lands or escalating a situation, then consider calling the Leos.
And we know that not everyone's comfortable approaching other people, but if you are, and if it feels safe, then start the conversation. Side note, we don't want to be held liable if somebody gets the crap beat out of them. Use your common sense. And we feel perfectly safe giving this advice because we actually do it and it's worked for us, but it's not for everyone, and that's okay. Similarly, it's very important that we be open-minded to other people expressing their concerns to us. We don't have to retaliate guns blazing. If they ask us why we're doing something the way we are, we can be nice and receptive. And
also, if someone comes up to you with a plate of stale Oreos and whipped cream on them, open your mind. There are many ways to live this lifestyle, as there are people living this lifestyle. You don't have to agree with how everyone does it, but if we approach them with kindness, dignity, respect, then hopefully we can plant that seed.
all right, to wrap up, for those of us that are new to vehicle residency and camping life, study up, read or watch videos about how to successfully overnight, stealth camp, or camp in public areas. Learn about how to safely and responsibly stay in the desert or the forest. Learn about proper fires for heating and cooking needs. Great place to start. Check out cheaprvliving.com. That's Bob Wells on YouTube. A great video to start with is always his 10 Commandments of Camping Etiquette. Google it.
Circumstances may have pushed you into your vehicle, but you can learn to go from victim to warrior in this lifestyle. As we are learning to do that, we don't want to be the reason we can't access our public lands and parking spaces. We want to be the reason we are welcomed into these places.
And we want to try not to let others be the reason that these places continue to escalate closings. We need to work with each other respectfully and educate each other that we're all in this together.
We know this is a preachy subject and we don't mean for it to be. We tried to make it as fun as possible and we hope everyone learned something today. And now that we know better, we do better. All right, Lisa B posted a,
Do have some questions
just a minute, I lost Lisa.
that were texted to us. We
one of-
can't see the chat right now, so our moderator's helping us.
Are YouTubers promoting free camping spots part of the issues?
Yes,
Possibly, everybody kind of cringes when somebody posts their favorite spots on a van life group or a camping group, because it's going to be hoarded. We both have secret spots we only share with a couple people because we don't want them blown up. And yeah, people see this lifestyle. They see the trustafarians on YouTube and their $100,000 Sprinter vans, and it's glamorized the life. But and they're fun people, but so are the people who are living in their Yugo and are heating themselves with their camping stove. They're real and they're beautiful souls. And I have yet to find someone I absolutely can't find something good about.
Was there another
Is there
question?
more questions, Lisa?
Or somebody had raised their hand.
I have not seen another question, but I did ask.
Excellent. So we're done and I can go throw up now.
Yeah, we have a minute left to throw up.
Excellent. I won't do it on camera.
Oh,
Be
James Foley
respectful.
had,
Isn't that what we just talked about?
very quickly, James Foley.
Yeah,
Alright.
thank you very much for your presentation. So it really just seems like there's a lot of education that needs to be passed out to people who are trying to enjoy this lifestyle. Me personally, I like to camp and stuff, but to hear a lot of the stuff that you guys are talking about, I had no clue like that was considered littering. So I think that that's just like the main goal, I guess, is just to get that information out there so people can not only respect the environment that they're in, but the people that they're around as well.
That's great. Sounds like you learned something today, and best thing you can do is spread the word as you're meeting other people like you. Great conversation starters.
Right. Especially food litter in the desert and dog poop. It just turns to petrified whatever. And your whole lifestyle is there for the next person that camps there. It does not go away.
And it's important to mention a lot of these things we're talking about, a lot of it's getting done. I mean, there's a lot of litter. There's a lot of dog poop everywhere, but so few of us are doing it. I mean, really, the majority of us campers and vehicle residents are great people. We're doing the right things most of the time. But the few that do the wrong things leave such a huge impact. And that's what gets noticed, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. I've seen people drop paper out of their pocket and I pick it up and I say, here, you drop this. We don't litter here or ever. And it starts conversation. I try not to be rude. I just say, here, you drop this. We don't litter here.
And just to give we have a question. I was going to fill the time. Flo, go ahead.
Is Flo unmuted?
Flo Kelly looks muted. There we go.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Yeah, I'm working a lot with people who live in San Francisco in their vehicles. This is where I live as well. And a lot of what you say is so relevant to what happens in the city. I know some people say that they actually see people who appear to be housed in traditional housing, brick and mortar, and they dump their stuff right in front of people. But what you're saying about keeping the trash, from upsetting anybody that drives by and goes, ooh, wow, how can you live like that or whatever? You know, and getting along with your neighbors, anyone else that's close by is a neighbor, no matter how they're living. So I found your presentation very interesting and very relevant to city dwellers as well as nomads.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's good to know. We don't have a lot of experience with city dwelling, but you know, you see the problems on the news and stuff, and you know, it's all of our problems, whether we're sticks and bricks or vehicle residents or living on a tent. You know, us as a society has to work together to fix that. All right.
Absolutely.
We're being told to wrap it up. So thanks to everyone who listened. Thanks for not making fun of my hair. I hope Lisa didn't have to yeet anybody.
No one
but-
got booted. Everybody behaved themselves.
Excellent,
Thanks,
excellent.
Lisa.
And
Thanks,
you know,
guys.
legendary Lisa is the best.